I was down in Killarney at the Dublin-Kerry League match, working on it with you a couple of months back, and that day you described Kerry football as being in crisis. Now this crisis has ended up in an All-Ireland semi-final.
You've been doing your research, Michael, I noticed this. I think everyone's out to get me today, yes? Dublin beat Kerry that day, 1 goal and 11 points to 4 points. Kerry got 1 score from playing the entire 60 minutes. What's the difference? Well, the difference is really in the forwards. Out of today's starting 6 forwards, only James O'Donoghue who played that day. The big guns are now back, the Declans, the Darrens, the Paul Galvins, the Gooches. They've trained very hard. The talent, the problem we saw that day in Kerry was that they were trying a lot of new footballers, and unfortunately they're not up to senior standard. They weren't ready for it. They tried them in the first 2 or 3 games in the league. They lost those games. They won, however, bear in mind that Kerry have not been beaten since last March. 3 games unbeaten in the league and 4 games unbeaten in the championship. So they've been building up momentum, they've been building up a head of steam. The big question mark, like I said, you asked me earlier on about the first time that Kerry have gone in as long odds in a semi-final. Kerry's semi-final record is absolutely magnificent. I mean, they've been in 8 of the last 10 All-Ireland semi-finals, and the last semi-final they lost was in 2003, that day against Tyrone. So they've been building up momentum, they've been building up steam. No one knows really what's going on because the training sessions are close to the public now, so they're very much a known quantity, but hope springs eternal. There's a huge Kerry crowd up here. They're probably here more in hope than expectation, but at the same time they look at the 35 minutes that Kerry produced against Cork in the first half, and they're all hope against hope. If we give a 70-minute performance like that, the sky's the limit.
And of course, obviously, a game like this, as we know very well, Dublin and Kerry, it has a resonance to it that a few other games. In actual fact, Colin O'Rourke in the paper today, you were getting poetic. You were quoting Alfred Lord Tennyson and everything.
Oh, yes.
Well, at least I presume it was. It could have been John Tennyson maybe. But
I had it Othello last week.
I have to be careful.
He doesn't even understand Othello.
That's right. Well, I want to be careful that I don't turn out like Pat and use 1,000 words when one might do. But I have to be careful in that regard.
Everybody's against me today.
Everybody's out. But I think, you talk about Dublin and Kerry, and there's a massive build-up, and it's a great game. But in general, they've turned out to be an anti-climax because over the last 40 years, Kerry have just murdered Dublin, or the last 30 years in general, apart from, say, 2011 and a few other games. But Kerry have dominated Dublin through Pat's time and through up to the modern era. So what has changed now, of course, is Dublin have a very fresh young team. Since 2011, they have players like young Mannion and Kilkenny and Jack McCaffrey, who certainly have added something really outstanding to their attacking play. So Dublin have improved, and Pat was making the point that they brought the old guns back. I suppose that's the problem in Kerry. There just doesn't seem to be bodies to replace, and it happens with all great teams. Why would you do away with Tomás O'Shea and Mark O'Shea and Gooch and Declan O'Sullivan, Paul Galvin? Who's going to replace them? And the answer simply at the moment is nobody.
I suppose, Joe, if the plebs were to have their way, this year would be a Mayo-Dublin final, because that's what the public seem to want.
The plebs?
Yes.
What public?
The plebs?
What public?
Of the plebiscite.
What public are you talking about?
Yeah, well,
Dublin Mayo final.
I think that
Michael,
the interesting thing about today's game.
You've been living in Dublin too long, Michael.
The interesting thing about today's game, I think, is that we haven't seen at all what Kerry are made of. They did play a brilliant first half against Tyrone in the National League, and that was the best football I've seen for 4 or 5 years. It was absolutely blistering. Cooper pulling the strings at centre forward, coming deep, Tomás O'Shea attacking forward, very vibrant, moving the ball well. But the issue is whether in the sort of supersonic environment that they'll be in against Dublin, where pace is absolutely critical, and where they've got very individual inside forwards who don't work as a unit. Query whether Cooper will be moved into the full forward line, because of course Dublin play man-to-man and there are going to be opportunities for Kerry. But the question for Kerry, I think, is whether or not they can stick with that high-octane pace for 70 minutes. Dublin have been, although they have permitted the opponent to play football, they have really hemmed the opponent in as well with their pace and their movement. And the big issue for the Dubs is whether this selfishness that has dogged them up front will be cast off today, because the problem with the Dubs is, just as Ger has hinted at, they have great potential, but they haven't as yet put it together.
Kerry, as you can see, have arrived out onto the pitch here. Pat, do you remember your first day running out onto the Croke Park pitch by any chance?
I did. I played in an All-Ireland Colleges final here back in 1971
No,
or 72. For Kerry, I played in a National League semi-final. But Kerry coming to Croke Park is always a great occasion because you consider it your second home. And you know, I mean, talk about football. I mean, today is the first time that Croke Park has been filled all year, 82,000, and today it's the largest sporting attendance probably at any sporting venue anywhere around the world, which is just remarkable, and it just shows the drawing power that's still there of a Kerry-Dublin clash.
Oh, sure, and you're so aware of the fact that people are watching us, Colin, in the United States, Australia, of course, former Kerry players watching out there, I know, and all over the world for an
on the Kerry team from their victory over Cavan. Peter Crowley is now positioned at centre-back for the injured Killian Young. Anthony Marr returns at midfield, and James O'Donoghue is in for Kieran Donaghy. Andrews has been brought in at full forward, with Diarmuid Connolly moving out to the half-forward line and Brian Cullen dropping to the bench. There are 3 changes on the Kerry team from their victory over Cavan. Peter Crowley is now positioned at centre-back for the injured Killian Young. Anthony Marr returns at midfield. Kerry for the 27th time.
Paul Galvin, Donncha Walsh have swapped.
And away we go, ball thrown in. Johnny Buckley with a strong right fist on that. James McCarthy trying to get to the break, and here's the gooch. Starting at centre forward, Ger Brennan then close to him. He sent that one in long, clutched it a bit out in his line, and James O'Donoghue managed to catch it. Having to play a bit of soccer with it now, able to pick it up. Kerry want a fast start, like they had in 2009. Darren O'Sullivan, James O'Donoghue. Hasn't played a huge amount of football since being injured against Cork. They've got a free man out from Anthony Marr's pass. It's the centre-back, Peter Crowley. Crowley steadies down, shoots on his left side, and the jeers tell you that hasn't hit the mark, and it's the first wide. And that was a long way off target from Peter Crowley, coming forward from centre-back. First scoring chance, not taken. Paul Flynn. His work rate has become so important to the way that team play, but a loose pass, Colin Cooper. Paul Galvin just skips away from him. Great feat from Paul Galvin, 33 years young. Galvin holding off James McCarthy, but the referee spotted an infringement. Was the ball touched on the ground?
Well, Paul Galvin was certainly fouled before that. That should definitely have been a Kerry free. He did touch it, surely, but that was after he was fouled originally. You just see it here. Just there, he's been fouled there. And in fact, it was his knee that flicked it back.
Jack McCaffrey. Keane O'Sullivan. Now McCaffrey, open road in front of him. That's Donncha Walsh trying to keep up with him, but his pace is just incredible. Kerry didn't want this to happen so early, but he's been held up, waiting for options, waiting for somebody to get free. Michael Darragh Macaulay has got free. Macaulay for Dublin! Over it goes for a point. Goal was on his mind. Point they have to settle for.
Yeah, it surely was. Great incisive run. Brogan has peeled off. If he gives it now, he has a great chance. Once he went that far, he nearly had to take it. Brogan would have wanted it, and he would have stuck it, but it's a point.
Brendan Keeley's kick out was for Anthony Marr. Pressure on him from Keane O'Sullivan. Kerry with the line ball. Donncha Walsh having a good year for Kerry. That's Jack McCaffrey with him. Walsh able to get his pass away, and Declan O'Sullivan has got away from Rory O'Carroll. Declan O'Sullivan for Kerry. That familiar striking action. And over it goes, and Kerry level in a flash.
Yeah, great response. Once Declan O'Sullivan got inside, he is not going to miss from there, Dara. He's been doing that for a full career. Deadly, left foot, perfect for him.
His 61st championship appearance in the Kerry colours. Ger Brennan. Kevin O'Brien going back to Rory O'Carroll. Kerry closing and shutting off options out the field, and Dublin have to figure another way through. Paul Flynn, a lot of passes just to get this far up the park. Kevin O'Brien from cornerback heading towards the Kerry goal. Bernard Brogan didn't score from play against Cork, and Brogan has opened the account. And is that a sign that he is really going to spark into life today? Kerry by 2-1.
Well, he's peeled away for the goal chance that we talked about. Next possession, he taps it over the bar. Great work by Kevin O'Brien. Lovely fist pass, lovely finish. He'd be wanting that for his confidence, there's no doubt.
Kerry with a free. Cormac Riley just telling Paul Galvin to go back to the spot where the foul took place. Here's Anthony Marr. Dermot Connolly making it really hard for him, and they've turned the ball over. Here is Dermot Connolly. Two-footed player, and Connolly slots that one over. Very comfortable on his left as well as the right. They ran straight at Kerry, and that defence, that inexperienced defence, apart from the two O'Shea's, just parted.
Yeah, but the lift that a score from a turnover gives a team is massive, and the key to it is the two-footedness of Connolly. You can take it left or right, swings it with the left. Lead for Dublin.
3 scoring chances for Dublin, 3 points to 1, they lead. Kerry having trouble on their own kick-out. There's McCaffrey and the pace. Paddy Andrews brought back into the team. McCaffrey had stayed forward. Paul Flynn. Kieran Kilkenny. Paddy Andrews, a bit on the high side, but gives Paul Flynn something to go after, which he's done. Now Keane O'Sullivan. They pace all over the place, and O'Sullivan not dragged down. Referee tells him to get up and play on. Paul Mannion is in there close to this. Mannion had nobody waiting inside. Everybody got drawn to the ball. Kerry wanted a quick start. It's Dublin who've made the better opening, and again the ball has been turned over. Caught in possession was Mark Griffin, the new Kerry fullback. Now Paddy Andrews, no pressure on Andrews at all, should score but doesn't, dropping it short.
We got a few of those in the National League. I remember being at a game or two up here, pinging them over simple that day. Different pressure today.
Colin Cooper. It's Brennan there with him, Jared Brennan. Foul. And some unnecessary stuff. And will Cormac Riley take some action?
I think he'll just ask him to cool it down. He let him off on this occasion, but the next one there'll be a colour card, I imagine.
And the ball moved forward.
And that's good refereeing there in my book. He's cooling down Brennan. He's also penalised on the 13 metres, and here's a chance.
James O'Donoghue in close to goal, trying to get free. Tomas O'Shea invited to come forward. Dermot Connolly there with him. He has to go back and get help from Colin Cooper. Thought about the shot, goes with a very precise pass to Walsh. They've got in around the back. O'Donoghue, goal! What a goal from James O'Donoghue! And what a pass from Colin Cooper!
And what a pass from Donegal Walsh. The little reverse hand pass puts him through here. There it is. And sticks it. If you're going to score from that distance against Cluxton, it better be a good one. Down low in the corner. And now the referee is talking to James McCarthy.
James O'Donoghue's goal, a yellow for James McCarthy of Dublin. Well, after a sluggish sort of a start, Kerry have arrived and in style, and they lead by 1-1 to 3. A brilliant goal from James O'Donoghue. Second time Stephen Cluxton has been beaten in Championship 2013. That was early against Kildare. We knew we had a game already. It's just gone up another level. Paddy Andrews blocked down by Mark Griffin. Mark O'Shea out with Bernard Brogan. They'll have some ding-dong battle. Declan O'Sullivan, the slip by Keane O'Sullivan. It's Dermot Connolly working hard to try and make it difficult for him. Donegal Walsh, James O'Donoghue sends it long over the head of Darren O'Sullivan, and too long for him and for Colin Cooper.
He was thinking of the right thing, though. Yeah. It was a good pass, just went over Darren O'Sullivan's head and the Gooch's head, but it was a good chance.
Open enough for Keane O'Sullivan. Here's Kieran Kilkenny. He hasn't had too many chances to take the ball. He's been fouled. The referee spotted a push.
And Dara, I just had a look around. The matchups, as per programme, are by and large exactly as is. Amazing.
Jack McCaffrey sending that long. Bernard Brogan is his target, doesn't get to him. Here's Paul Mannion, has Brogan with him. Bernard Brogan turns back into trouble. Why? so close.
Well, Paul Mannion is the man who steals it. Oh, he gets the ball perfectly. I thought he was going to do it on the left. Probably did just everything right and just skims it to the left and wide. Great chance. Quick goal reply would have been something to really up the temperature. Oh, just agonisingly wide.
And the most relieved man in Croke Park, Shane Enright, who caught the ball or tried to catch the ball and gave possession to Brogan. Here come Kerry. Fionn Fitzgerald. Colin Cooper. Shoulder to shoulder with Johnny Cooper. And now Michael Darragh Macaulay has collided with Colin Cooper.
Well, he didn't need to do it. Cooper was trying to soccer it behind him and Darragh Macaulay got in his way, took him out of it. That's a free.
James O'Donoghue making space for himself again with Kevin O'Brien in front. O'Donoghue has got a goal. Now he's got a point. 1-2 to 3. Dublin haven't scored in 5 minutes. Kerry on top in that time, certainly.
Well, we talk about the inches and the millimetres, and Michael Darragh Macaulay's knocking over of Cooper when there was complete simple ball on, gives the free, turns over, ball over the bar.
James O'Donoghue's movement is causing Kevin O'Brien a lot of difficulty in the Dublin full back line. The Leinster champions will have a free, and there's so much at stake, but it's a bit of an edge to this too, as you would expect.
But great tempo, great movement, great excitement, every ball a contest.
Dermot Connell. Paddy Andrews taking Mark Griffin out the field, the Kerry fullback. Andrews. Kieran Kilkenny there with him. Jack McCaffrey. Poor pass from McCaffrey straight to Tomás O'Shea. Shane Enright. Paul Galvin. Anthony Marr spotted a gap and spotted James O'Donoghue, who continues to impress. Now Darren O'Sullivan has got out in front but hasn't got the ball. Kevin O'Brien was marking him on that occasion, and James McCarthy showing brilliant pace to get there ahead of Paul Galvin, but it's worked out well for Kerry. Darren O'Sullivan, we've seen those soccer skills before. Paul Galvin. James O'Donoghue. Donncha Walsh. Johnny Buckley for Kerry. Now Colin Cooper. Donncha Walsh is completely free. They're back in again. Dublin far too open. Walsh, goal! What a start for Kerry. And Donncha Walsh, whose eye for goal seemed to have deserted him this year, but he's done this before. 2-2 to 3 points. An amazing start by Kerry.
And this time it is the Gooch's pass. One-on-one, brilliant finish, absolutely brilliant finish. On Cluxton, Darragh there so hard, but look at Gooch's vision again. That's why he's at 11, that's why he's conducting the orchestra. Brilliant pass, brilliant finish by Donncha Walsh. What a score.
Who saw this coming? Well, there's been talk about this open Dublin defence all year, and they've been carved open twice. Johnny Cooper for the shell-shocked Dubs at the moment. Paul Flynn, a long way to go. Dermot Connolly. Tomás O'Shea there, and Mannion in after it, goal! Paul Mannion! Poacher's instinct, and what a game we have on our hands. Paul Mannion's goal. They're back in business, but Kerry still lead.
Well, once again, the shot for a point that drops short, one of the most dangerous balls in Gaelic football. But Mannion comes across it and just tomahawks it into the net with a fantastic contact. What a game.
It's already been stunning, and we've only been playing for 13 minutes. Peter Crowley crunched. Dublin free, and they want Stephen Cluxton to take it from this range. He's their joint top scorer. Dermot Connolly a little winded. That goal changed the atmosphere around here.
Well, the one thing Kerry, of course, would want is some distance time-wise between their goal and whatever reply Dublin were going to come up with. The reply was instant, and it was a major three-pointer, and this brings it back now just to the one, and Dublin will be delighted with an opening quarter that sees them back in this position.
Here's Stephen Cluxton. He's happy with the strike. He looked a little anxious, but it has gone over. Now that was Peter Crowley. And here's the goal again.
Yeah, no doubt whatsoever that Jeremy Conley was going for the point, but didn't Mannion do well to keep his eye on the flight?
3 goals in the first 14 minutes. Tomas O'Shea. James O'Donoghue. Quick, and his confidence at close to an all-time high, you would think. That's Kieran Kilkenny of Dublin, who's back there with him. Paul Galvin. Johnny Cooper behind, and he is surrounded and dispossessed legally, and now there's a free to Dublin. And again, that edge just comes back into it, and James O'Donoghue and Johnny Cooper, unnecessary stuff from both.
The referee will want to take a bit of control. He's given the 13-metre penalty. No more at this stage.
Kieran Kilkenny's free. Bernard Brogan in under it. Has he been held as the ball came in? A bit of a collision, and Bernard Brogan spinning, turning, and we've seen that before. He missed the goal, but the eye is certainly in. 2 points for him, both from play. Level pegging after 15 and a half minutes.
Look at the reaction when he gets the ball, spins away on his left instinctively, and his accuracy is there to see. He's going well. That's not a good sign for the Kerry defence, in which there's 4 newcomers, and now they know that they have Brogan now on fire, really flying it.
Michael Darragh Macaulay did well to get that off Anthony Marr. It seemed like the Kerry man was in charge. Macaulay brings Keane O'Sullivan in, he bursts onto it at pace, just lost the ball, but free in, he was fouled. Shane Enright not happy with the referee's decision.
Well, there's no question. It's absolutely a free. Lovely line of running. And there he's taken out there. That is a free in. We spoke about that in the quarter-final.
Philly McMahon, we think, yeah, there he is wearing 22, is going to come in to that Dublin full back line. Will it be O'Brien? Will it be Cooper? Will this be a point for Bernard Brogan to nudge Dublin back in front? 1-3 they've scored since Donncha Walsh's goal.
Well, it's just outstanding stuff, end to end. 1 minute it's swinging the way of the kingdom. Back come the Dubs, and if they can keep this pace, and I suppose that's a reasonable point, Jared, to make. This is not the pace that Kerry would want to be playing their opening quarter at.
Philly McMahon for Kevin O'Brien, who we mentioned earlier on was having serious issues with James O'Donoghue. And Philly McMahon has gone on to pick up Darren O'Sullivan, and it's Johnny Cooper who's marking James O'Donoghue. Dublin with the last 4 scores, Kerry with a free for a push. Tomas O'Shea, bothered by a hamstring injury in the build-up to this game. Here's Colin Cooper. He's got away again. O'Carroll backs off, and Colin Cooper allowed to go unhindered. And Cooper just never going to miss from there to bring Kerry level. But the Dublin defence in reverse, and nobody went near Cooper.
Well, Declan O'Sullivan, you can see, is trying to stop the quick kickouts, and that's the problem that O'Carroll has, Rory O'Carroll has. It has to be said, in Cooper's last one, he was going to give the inside pass to Declan O'Sullivan, but he took a lot of steps before he finished that ball over the bar. But the referee will have to take control. They're stopping the Kerry. That's the Dublin quick kick-out strategy. They're putting a man in front of the ball, not on.
And they want Kerry to kick the ball as long as possible. And the referee going in to talk to his umpire behind the Hill 16 goal, or one of the umpires, now both of them.
This isn't the first time off camera they've been doing it as well.
Cluxton with the kick out to Cooper, and he's not outside the 20-metre line, and that Kerry pressure paying off, and they're knocking Dublin off their stride in any way they can. Cooper was not outside the 20-metre line when the ball was played to him.
Yeah, but worse than this is the turnover now. Essentially, it's a raffle now. The ball is going to be thrown up, and it can go either way.
Anthony Marr, 6'5", Colin Cooper, James O'Donoghue, and O'Donoghue. Oh, it's No, it's still in play. Here's Donegal Walsh looking for another goal. Walsh dragged down. Penalty! Kerry penalty. Stephen Cluxton dragging Donegal Walsh down. The ball coming off the upright. And what's going to happen to Stephen Cluxton? The referee wants a word. Kerry will have a penalty. James O'Donoghue is going to take it. It's just a yellow for Stephen Cluxton.
Watch when it comes off. Donegal Walsh just charges at him here. Yeah, there it is. Now he is pulled down, there's no question, but he charges straight into him. You know, there's no whole lot else he can do. He never attempts to play the ball, but the Cluxton overreacts. I think no requirement to drag him to the ground like that. There was a lot of bodies around. Another key moment.
And all of this from Kerry putting pressure on Stephen Cluxton, stopping him taking the short kickouts.
Well, Cluxton's effort was ill-advised, was very, very short, hardly 6-7 metres. Here's the penalty.
James O'Donoghue has scored one goal already. O'Donoghue, brilliant penalty. What a stunning penalty. Kerry with 3 goals inside 20 minutes. They take charge again and lead by 3.
Well, that was trouble of their own making, but brilliantly executed by James Donoghue. He is on fire, unstoppable at the moment, everything he touches.
3-3 to 1-6. Who would have predicted that? Philly McMahon, the Dublin substitute. Paddy Andrews, confirmation of the card for Stephen Cluxton. Kieran Kilkenny hasn't got too much change out of Fionn Fitzgerald, who's moved over to mark him at centre-back. Johnny Cooper. Kerry getting plenty of players back behind the ball. Mannion's in after it, tricky bounce, it's gone over.
Philly McMahon.
Two points between them.
Yeah, it is a long one.
Yep.
He's not going for the score, of course. Paul Mannion is fighting for the ball as it lands, and on the perfect Croke Park pitch, once it's allowed bounce. Ask a Mayo man about that, he'll tell you it'll go over.
Ball back in play, and that's a lottery around the middle, which Dublin have won. Jack McCaffrey. Paddy Andrews once more in that very deep position. Bernard Brogan has his hand pointed up to the sky. He wants it played into him quickly. Andrews now brings Keane O'Sullivan in. Brogan still wants it. Manion's there. It opens up for O'Sullivan. He got it over the bar.
Well, it's again a massive line. His line of running at the moment is absolutely sensational. Of course, he has the pace. That's another goal chance, but he's driving it over. He'll be happy enough with that.
It's just a shootout. 3-3, 1-8. Kerry leading by a point. Brendan Keeley goes to the same place again. Buckley and Marr close by each other as they normally are in the Kerry kickouts. Here's Paul Galvin. Declan O'Sullivan. Perfect ball for O'Sullivan and a test for Ger Brennan. Darren O'Sullivan has come out to help. Declan O'Sullivan gone down injured. Colin Cooper in closest to goal. Is he in the full forward line now? Great catch from Cooper and a wonderful score from the Gooch. 2 clear.
Well, this is just outstanding stuff. Declan O'Sullivan and the Gooch have swapped positions. You probably noticed that on the diagonal. He just went back door, came off his marker. Now once he has possession, as I've often said, it's too late. The Gooch isn't going to miss. And that one just cleared the 20-metre line, that quick kick out.
Johnny Cooper, Rory O'Carroll. Again, there's pressure high up from Kerry. Johnny Cooper pushed off it by Donegal Walsh. Is Johnny Cooper in significant trouble?
Knee. I think it's the bang when he goes down here, just there.
Yeah.
Tumbles awkwardly.
Ger Brennan. And Paul Flynn, too much to do. Peter Crowley of Kerry, 23 years of age, one of the 4 youngsters in this Kerry defence, and he's been caught and fouled by Paul Flynn. Risky one, but Donegal Walsh has it for Kerry. Jack McCaffrey there with him. And Walsh didn't pick the ball up off the floor. Here's Colin Cooper surrounded. There have to be 3 men for Kerry, and there are. And Galvin's got in around the back. Paul Galvin just checking for a player and a teammate in a better position. Declan O'Sullivan head down as he kicked that one, but dropping it short.
Galvin really should have driven on there. Really surprised he turned back and recycled the ball. He should have flicked it over his left or right.
Dublin not able to, at the moment, produce that swashbuckling football we've seen all year. Philly McMahon scored a point with his last foot pass. There's Paul Mannion, pushed with Shane Enright.
Well, soft enough one. A hand on the back perhaps, but it's a soft one.
Kieran Kilkenny. Keane O'Sullivan. Darren McCauley was a little wide. Paddy Andrews in close to goal, and McCauley just goes past Buckley. He's still going. Two other Kerry men come across it. He's lost the ball. Good defending from Kerry. Fionn Fitzgerald back to the safety of Brendan Keeley. Now Shane Enright. Anthony Marr. Paul Galvin, seen a lot of it for Kerry. So is Tomás O'Shea. James McCarthy there with him. The referee spotted a foul off the ball. Was there
Darren O'Sullivan,
on Darren O'Sullivan inside the Dublin 45. Declan O'Sullivan. They're getting on with it already. James O'Donoghue for Kerry. And O'Donoghue going past Cooper, and O'Carroll's it again. Point. That full back line looks very brittle.
And look at the quick kick. Everything is at an outrageous pace. I said O'Donoghue is just flying. He's unstoppable at the moment. Again, a lot of steps. Referee gave him the advantage. He might have been fouled over the bar.
Short kick out to Jack McCaffrey, then Johnny Cooper. Pace of this thing is just stunning. Kerry, their total of 3-5. 2-5 has come from play. Ball moved in quickly towards Bernard Brogan. That was asking a lot of him. Good defending from Mark O'Shea. Fionn Fitzgerald. Paddy Andrews beaten by the skill of Fitzgerald. Risky one for Tomás O'Shea, but he secured possession, as has Paul Galvin. Johnny Buckley. Buckley boots it forward. Darren O'Sullivan has got away from Rory O'Carroll. O'Sullivan, he's lightning fast as well. Help from Donncha Walsh. Looking to get a player free. Johnny Buckley had to stay committed. Paul Galvin. Just keep the passing from Kerry is stunning, and Colin Cooper has got another put. No, he's put it wide. I thought that was over. You would expect him to put it over from there. It's surprising he missed. They still lead by 3.
Well, that's how good he is. It's his right foot, and we still think he's infallible even on that. He'll be annoyed with himself. His standards are very high. He'd have expected to get that one.
It was well wide when you look at that replay. James McCarthy having to kick it long, not able to run with it. Dublin free. Kieran Kilkenny, they haven't been able to get the ball to him as much as they would like, and the bounce beats Paul Mannion. Kenny for his thoughts. Jim Gavin, the Dublin manager.
I think he'd be happy, Dara. Overall, you have to say, when you get 3 shocks like those goals that Kerry put into the back of the Dublin net against the top keeper in the country. They've only conceded 1 before this.
Well done, Tomás O'Shea. Connolly got there as quick as he could, but not quick enough. Mark O'Shea. Lots of space in front of him. Michael Darragh Macaulay comes to close him down. Darren O'Sullivan with Rory O'Carroll. O'Carroll taller, but O'Sullivan quicker.
But he pulls it out of his hand.
Free Kerry.
That's going to be a free.
Free into Kerry.
Softish enough, but technically correct. Rory O'Carroll's tackling was merely just to pull the ball out of the Gooch's hands. We might get a look at that again, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason for it.
Taking his time, Colin Cooper. Given that, it's come off the post. They scored a goal the last time this happened, Kerry. Have possession again. Donncha Walsh. And Walsh has got right under that. James O'Donoghue down the bottom of your screen, just punching the air. He was furious the ball wasn't played into it.
Yeah, he came off his man. Well, here it is. There it is. Just pulled out of Darren O'Sullivan's hands. Referee gives the free. Nothing came off it.
Dublin attacking with Michael Dara McCauley. Johnny Buckley in front of him. Bernard Brogan has got out in front of Mark O'Shea. Brogan spins round. O'Shea still in front of him. Brogan from a very tricky angle has put it wide. That's their third wide.
His jersey was being pulled. He'll be not too pleased that he didn't get the free.
And you saw how quickly Brendan Keeley got the ball back in motion for Kerry. Incredible pace. Shane Enright with a poor pass for Kerry, giving the ball back to Dublin. Michael Dara McCauley. Diarmuid Connolly. Connolly to Paul Flynn. Tight space. Kieran Kilkenny. Quick shot from Kieran Kilkenny, and the point. Steadies them down again. 3-5-1-9-2 the difference.
Yeah, super score. Beautifully put together. Excellently finished by Kieran Kilkenny. They needed that. That's a settler. Certainly with 5 to go. As I said earlier, I think Jim Gavin will be very pleased. That's only a 2-point game. And on the other side, the Kerry management will be saying, why isn't it more?
Anthony Marr with the clean catch, and then he's fouled. That was Dublin's first point in 8 minutes from Kieran Kilkenny. Paul Galvin taking his time. Cooper was out on the shoulder of James O'Donoghue. Just got it away from the danger area. Colin Cooper sneaking forward now, back into the full forward position as you follow the play with Darren O'Sullivan. Cooper in very close to the Dublin goal. Kerry being precise again. James O'Donoghue. Cooper in a left corner forward position as Darren O'Sullivan decides how best to proceed. Fionn Fitzgerald. Anthony Marr. Patient Kerry. Paul Galvin. Philly McMahon claiming he was fouled and pushed, and the referee spotted it, much to McMahon's relief. He'd stopped.
I don't think he could have missed it because Philly McMahon made it so obvious to the ref he was being fouled. He deserved to get his free though.
Paul Flynn. Ger Brennan. Into that space for James McCarthy to run onto it at pace. That's what they want to do as much as they can, and Anthony Marr fouls him. And is Marr going to see a card?
Well, I think so, because if James McCarthy breaks Anthony Marr's tackle, he's in open country and overlaps. So yeah, a deserved yellow.
Bernard Brogan is going to take the free. Stephen Cluxton is actually out beyond his own 45-metre line. He thought he was going to get the call. Difficult for a left-footed kicker though from that side. So under 3 minutes to half-time, Kerry leading by 2. Brogan doesn't like it.
Well, he got under it completely. Poor contact. The ball just went up in the air, and he just pulled back. And a deserved yellow, no more than that.
Keeley forced long. Who touched that one last? Well, it's a Kerry ball.
I think Darren McCauley, ref would judge to have punched it out over the sideline.
Ger Brennan struggling. Colin Cooper, clever hands back to Paul Galvin. Cooper has a few yards on Ger Brennan. Darren O'Sullivan is there with him. Cooper. Paul Galvin. Donegal Walsh. They've got Tomas O'Shea in some space. Michael Dara McCauley there with him again. There's a big gap through the middle of that Dublin full back line, but they work with James O'Donoghue Kerry. Declan O'Sullivan. Forced sideways to Peter Crowley. Paul Galvin. Was he pushed? Referee said no. Here's Peter Crowley. Missed one early, wasn't it? The first scoring chance of the match for Kerry. He put it wide. Anthony Marr. Kerry putting an awful lot into this attack. Declan O'Sullivan going down, claiming he was fouled by Rory O'Connor.
The umpires.
1 minute to be added on, but Kerry had the ball in hand there for such a long time. And
Big defensive lines in front of them, though, Dara.
Keane O'Sullivan, oh, he's surrounded by 3 Kerry men. Tried to find Rory O'Carroll there and bother on their own kick out. Free in Kerry. I wonder would Colin Cooper have fancied going on a bit further with that, letting the play develop.
Yeah, that was his instinct, wasn't it? He got up like a flash.
Kick out stats.
Yeah, kick-outs 1, 11, 14, 10, 13. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. They're obviously concentrating on their own kick-outs, very much so. I'd like to see the stats on the opposite side, of course. Turn them around. They're not as aggressive on the opposition.
This fella, Johnny Buckley, a very fine free taker. They lead by 2. Oh, dear. Sorry, Johnny, that was my fault. Additional time at the end of the first half. Won't do that again.
Well, it's a big miss.
Yeah. 6 Kerry wides. And while Brogan missed a chance to bring them back to within 1, that was to put them 3 clear at half-time. As you said, Kerry will feel they probably should be further in front. Now, big gap between midfield and the Kerry half-back line. Diarmuid Connolly with Tomas O'Shea in front of him. Just a bit edgy. Kieran Kilkenny. Very difficult angle. Mannion will chase it down, but that was a poor decision from Kieran Kilkenny.
Yeah, that's a poor wide. Not his form, it has to be said, but the shot selection there poor. Should have developed it coming up to half-time, bring the ball into context. See, can you generate a free or recycle it into a better position?
Just sum up, Kevin, what we've seen.
Well, just electric start. The goals have been sensational, but I think Dublin will be very pleased with where they are. Kerry will be happy that they're putting the game really to Dublin, but...
Yeah, well, at that stage, I think Kerry had moved 5 points up, so Dublin needed a response, and a response came very, very quickly. Fantastic ball across the field by Paul Flynn to Diarmuid Connolly, who hasn't been in the game much. Tomas O'Shea has done a real job on him, and he goes for a point with his left foot, and Paul Mannion, like all good corner forwards, was waiting for the ball to drop short and gets his fist in the Kerry marker, not on him, not as close as he should have been. Connolly had kicked a lovely point with his left foot before this at the start of the game, and probably assumed that he'd do the same again. But a good corner forward. Mannion has been brilliant all year, and again he's a goal scorer.
Actually, what it highlights is the flaw in Kerry's play that was also shown the second half against Cork in the Munster final, that when the ball was kicked in high, this Kerry full back line is not commanding on the high ball. But credit to Dublin in that half, they showed great character. In the space of 4 minutes, Michael, they came from 5 points down to be a point ahead. They scored 1-4 without reply.
There was another goal for Kerry, this one from the penalty spot.
It's just the absolute precision.
And I presume this was a penalty.
Oh, it was definitely a penalty. But it's the absolute precision of Kerry, you know, and it's their composure, precision, coolness against the sort of relentless helter-skelter running game of Dublin. And, you know, the question is now whether or not Dublin will be able to wear them down. The problem being that Cooper and his colleagues are finding lots of space in that Dublin defence, and they're absolutely lethal. So the question is whether or not Kerry can avoid being hemmed in, because there were times in the first half we were looking at it and you could see that Dublin were pushing Kerry back. Kerry were finding it very difficult to get out. But once they do get out and move it over the top of the Dublin defence, they're up and running. I mean, Donoghu's deadly.
I disagree about that being a definite penalty. As far as I'm concerned, Donegal was charged with the ball initially, straight into Cluxton.
How could he charge him one step?
Cluxton then hauled him down and gave away the penalty. But the initial movement by Walsh,
like the big
charge.
I don't think it was. But the big question mark now, Michael, is in the second half, can Kerry replicate the first half performance in the second half? Because we saw in the Munster final there were 7 points.
Yeah.
It was one.
Can they sustain the pace?
It was one. Can they sustain the pace? There were 7 points up against Cork. Lost the second half on the score of 11-6 against Cavan the last day. Comfortably ahead at half time. Lost the second half against Cavan 7-5. So, like Joe says, can they sustain the pace?
Can they sustain the pace? Because the thing about that first half is they were forcing the pace. They were taking quick frees. They looked like the team that had the pace and wanted to exploit it.
I think the game was 100 miles an hour for the first 20 minutes. I think there was a noticeable drop in pace for the last 10 or 15 minutes of the half, because I don't think anybody can keep up the pace. I think we also have to remember now, Dublin are going to look for the 5th Cavalry in the subs, and they'll bring on Bastick and McManaman and Dean Rock and players like this. Now, of course, Kerry have Brian Sheehan and Dennis Moran or David Moran and Owen Brosnan. They could bring those on, but I think the balance of advantage in subs is on the Dublin side. The big imponderable for me is when Kerry bring on Donaghy, and where did they put him? And I think that if Kerry are doing their homework right and they see what happened in the first half, they'll put him in there on the edge of the square and put in a few high balls. I know that Kerry have had a lot of value from the low, quick ball inside, but in the second half of the Munster final and against Cavan, that whole game dried up.
And they want an alternative. What they should do is change tack for the second half.
They want an alternative type of thing. This is not going to work all the time.
Why would you, in circumstances where Kerry are playing with such economy up front, their movement is brilliant. Every time they get the ball, they're threatening a goal. Why would you change tactics at this point in time?
Because by bringing on
Kieran, the problem with Kieran is that Kieran's a roadblock in front of the goals.
When you bring on
he's great if he's flicking down.
When you bring on Kieran Donaghy, it means your game plan is completely altered. Kerry's game plan in that first half was like the first half against Cork, where quick ball, angles of rolling brilliant, great variety in the attack, and great support play. If Donaghy is brought in, you know what, a blind man could play in the full back line because he knows the ball is going to come in high under Donaghy. The unfortunate thing about Donaghy, as we saw against Cavan, he's lost a bit of pace and his first touch is poor. So I'll stick with the winning formula for as long as possible.
Joe, let's come back to Dublin, because you were making the point before the match about Dublin's creating chances but not taking them.
Squandering.
Squanderlust. And there was an example of it here again. They looked like they could score at will, and yet they have one goal, but...
Well, I said beforehand, this is a big game, and you can't be wasting chances like this. Michael Darragh McCauley's clean through. He drops his head and he puts it in the net, or he knocks it across to the other side of the square, and it's an easy goal. I mean, here again, this has got to go in the net. Let me put it to you this way, Michael.
Oh, that was close.
If that's Colin Cooper, no, close is no good. If that's Colin Cooper or James O'Donoghue, the ball is in the net. And that's the difference at this level. So against lesser teams, Dublin can overwhelm them, and even though they're missing 80% of their goal chances, they can still win the game. They can't do it at this higher level.
But
so it's a huge sort of test for them in the second half.
For Dublin, the problem is not scoring. Dublin have scored a goal and 9 points, which is a great score in any game. The problem for Dublin is their defence. They're leaking goals, and they all have been showing throughout the championship. A big problem in the Dublin defence, and it hasn't been solved.
I agree, Colin. And
I think that Dublin should be taken off Ger Brennan. If I want to say what's going to be happening, I think he's in big trouble there in the Dublin defence. I think they took off the wrong man.
Both teams back. Attendance of 81,553 here today, by the way. Now, after today's semi-final, watch out for a great competition.
Ball and all to play for, with Kerry leading by 2 as the second half begins. 15 of the 18 scores we've had so far in this All-Ireland semi-final have been from play. Pressure on the Dublin full-back line already. There was a push free to Dublin. Michael Darragh McCauley, Jack McCaffrey and Paul Flynn. Route 1 in towards Bernard Brogan. Good hand from Mark O'Shea in there. The ball squirts loose on O'Shea, just pulling on it. James McCarthy is pushed up from right half back to join the attackers. Paddy Andrews. McCarthy was booked in the first half, and that was a poor pass into a pretty congested area of the field. Kerry get the ball into space. Donncha Walsh. It's Mark Griffin. Oh, Griffin caught by Dermot Connolly. He's gone down, touching his right shoulder.
He's lucky he caught him in the chest or that area, because if he gets that any higher, that is real damage. And so you're looking at yellow card country here for a bit of rough play.
Cormac Riley took his time, but it is yellow for Connolly. Took his time before revealing the card. Third Dublin player to be booked. Stephen Cluxton, James McCarthy, the other two.
We were just talking about Darragh goal chances interest. I was listening very carefully to Joe on the goal chances. 66% conversion rate for the chances for Dublin, 50% conversion rate for Kerry. So that one, stats and stats and stats.
Colin Cooper getting out in front of Keane O'Sullivan. Dennis Bastick back after him. Here's Johnny Buckley for Kerry. Declan O'Sullivan now. Angle not great for him. The shot wasn't great. Can't believe he missed that.
Very unlike him.
Yeah, 7 wides now for Kerry.
Stephen Cluxton waves it wide, but you can never believe goalkeepers these days. They wave even the ones between the posts, they wave them wide. And another yellow.
Johnny Cooper this time. For something off the ball.
Look how hard they're working on the Cluxton kick-out, giving them very few options. And there's the turnover.
Yeah, it was for Paul Flynn, yard or two away. Here's Anthony Marr for Kerry, looking for the first score of the second half. Here's Declan O'Sullivan, Darren O'Sullivan, I beg your pardon. Now it's James O'Donoghue, no, it's Crowley, and now it's Paul Galvin, and Galvin slots that over. After Declan O'Sullivan's miss, Paul Galvin for Kerry. They lead by 3, first score of the second half.
Well, it's a goal chance, except Darren O'Sullivan's first touch is a poor one. They recycle it, and the minimum they have to get something out of it, and Paul Galvin ensures they do. They get the point.
3-6 to 1-9. Kerry with the ball off Cluxton's kick out. Anthony Marr angling that out. Push by Declan O'Sullivan on Rory O'Carroll. He's playing on, but the referee has blown the whistle.
Will these pushes always be called Derby-esque type pushes? A little bit of contact. Referee got that one right, in my opinion.
Paul Flynn getting free for Dublin. That's for Paddy Andrews and Kieran Kilkenny to go after. Kerry's Mark Griffin there.
I think that's a Dublin ball.
Signalled as Kerry.
I certainly would like to see that one again from this position. It looked Dublin. Well, that is certainly a Dublin ball. Goes off the number 4, Shane Enright.
Dublin have possession back anyway with Diarmuid Connolly. Johnny Cooper. Johnny Buckley. Connolly sent it out to Paddy Andrews. Michael Darragh McCauley gave him an option. James McCarthy just pushes forward. Andrews. Dennis Bastick. Bastick launches that in. Not a good decision. Easy catch for Brendan Keeley, the Kerry goalkeeper. Look where James O'Donoghue is. Mark O'Shea. Shane Enright. And Fionn Fitzgerald. Enright. Monica Walsh claims that was touched on the ground by the Kerry wing forward. Clever little hand pass.
That's off the ground.
So that was picked up by Peter Crowley. Paul Mannion. Bernard Brogan scored 3 points in the first half. 2 of them were from play. Kieran Kilkenny. Dennis Bastick couldn't hold back. Kieran Kilkenny back on it. Now Bernard Brogan with the snapshot. Kicking into Hill 16. Nailed it. Very fine point from Bernard Brogan. The signs are there. He's just bubbling. 2 between them. Kerry lead 3-6 to 110.
Well, he's tidied it up neatly. First a poor pass by Kieran Kilkenny. An excellent work by Dennis Bastick in the physical stakes, and then Bernard tidies it all up, as you said, with that lovely snapshot right between the posts.
And Fionn Fitzgerald, Kerry taking a lot out of it. Brendan Keeley. Mark O'Shea. To Tomas, setting off at full tilt, that familiar stride. And Philly McMahon was fouling James O'Donoghue. Philly not impressed. James O'Donoghue rather happy the decision went his way. Here it is again.
Well, I've seen those ones being let go on, but for dissent. Now it's a very easy one, isn't it?
It is for Colin Cooper. Now the referee
gone in after Philly McMahon, isn't he?
Yeah, and McMahon is in standing on the goal line alongside Stephen Cluxton. And this yellow card count is mounting, so a yellow for Philly McMahon. 5 Dublin players on yellows, and they are about to make a substitution. Dean Rock is going to see some game time any minute as Colin Cooper slots over the free for Kerry, outscoring Dublin by 2-1 since the match restarted. It's Kieran Kilkenny who's going off the Dublin team. It has been a frustrating match for him. And Dean Rock has scored 2 points in each of the 4 games he's played in this year's championship. Hasn't started but a sub in the 4 previous games and chipped in with 2 in each match. Stephen Cluxton frustrated with his kick out. It's gone against Dublin, and now it's Darren O'Sullivan to Declan. Johnny Cooper there behind him. Donncha Walsh and Darren O'Sullivan. Paul Galvin to his left. Here is Galvin, just chipping it and over the bar. Well worked score from Kerry.
And again, Dara, they are attacking the Cluxton kick out with serious aggression. This was flagged. They were very successful in 11 and in 09 doing this, and they're getting real returns from it.
Well, right down the middle from Stephen Cluxton, and he's found his man, Diarmuid Connolly. Kerry with a healthy lead. Dublin with just 1 point since the match restarted. Paddy Andrews, Bernard Brogan and Paul Mannion screaming for the ball particularly, and it goes up to Mannion with Shane Enright behind him. Will want it on his left boot. Had help from McCaffrey. Mannion still going. Here's Dean Rock from a very tricky angle. Rock, and there's his first point. He's only on the field about a minute, making a point to his manager. He was close to the starting team against Cork. This wasn't easy. Fine score.
Well, that is a great score. Serious accuracy involved there. There was a clamour for his name on the starting 15 all week. Didn't make it, and now he has something to prove, and that's a great start.
And Brendan Keeley towards Anthony Marr, couldn't hang on to it. Peter Crowley could. John Fitzgerald, very tidy footballer. Breaks well for Philly McMahon. Keane O'Sullivan. Paddy Andrews. Good pace about it. Great defending from Shane Enright, getting his right hand in there ahead of Paul Mannion.
Mannion didn't wait it for the ball. He should have driven onto the ball, waited for the ball to come to him. Kerry defender nipped in.
Kerry dominating possession so far in the second half. That's Mark O'Shea in all sorts of bother, but he was fouled. He's keeping the ball out of Dublin hands. John Fitzgerald plays his club football with Dr. Croat. Declan O'Sullivan. Tomas O'Shea. Colin Cooper to his left. In front of him is Darren O'Sullivan. Now in possession, nobody on the 20-metre line. O'Sullivan very good in these tight areas, and Darren O'Sullivan has got through. O'Sullivan goes with the fist. Just wide.
That could be a big wide, because as you know, it's a 3-point game. If he gets a minimum of a point out of this, and he nearly does, ends up a wide.
Now a different kick-out strategy. Diarmuid Connolly running onto it at pace. Open road in front. Rock to his right. Diarmuid Connolly taking it into the tackle. Bernard Brogan now. Brogan! Easy save for Brendan Keeley. Dean Rock was screaming for the ball to be played to him, and Diarmuid Connolly held on to it and went himself, and they get no score out of the attack.
Well, you summarised that one absolutely perfectly. Should have moved the ball, but didn't.
Dean Rock was brave. Here's Michael Dara McCauley. Goes past the first challenge of Griffin. McCauley needs some help. He's got a free in, as he has on the 13-metre line. Three between them. Peter Crowley in trouble. Yellow for the Kerry centre-back.
It must be said, Dara, in the last few minutes, a few balls where Kerry defenders had to stretch. They were looking well